Hey everybody, I wanted to say hi and check in. I know that we are going through and living through this completely strange new normal. I know that tensions are high. I know it's stressful. I'm sure some of you had to leave campus and move back home or at least move to a safe space. And I hope you are all home and settled. Um, this is a very, very odd time, and I'm sure you're also just trying to get your bearings and trying to catch up on other courses moving online. So I just wanted to validate all of these feelings of feeling totally destabilized right now. It is like that for all of us, and we're just going to have to do our best to get through as best we can and move to the end of the semester as productively as we can given the circumstances. If anyone has any questions, you're feeling stressed, you're feeling strained, you're having a hard time adjusting or keeping up with this class, please feel free to reach out at any time. We're just bending rules here, and we're just going to soldier through as successfully as we can. I did want to alert you to the fact that I created a new module um, that is entitled. It's all the way at the bottom, and it's entitled Sample Midterms. All of you now should have received feedback from me and grades for your midterms. The midterms overall, the papers were relatively strong. I was really impressed with some of the critical thinking, some of the connective thinking you all were doing, and the ways in which you were utilizing the social, cultural, historical context of the authors and the texts to enhance your analysis and focus your thinking. Oh, look, a child. This is just, modern motherhood here. Hi, Allie.
Hi, Mommy.
Hello. Can you go down and we'll ice the cake in a second?
I want to do it now.
Okay, in a few minutes. Okay?
What are you doing?
I'm doing a video to my class because they wrote really good midterm papers and I want to talk to them about them and give them some good feedback and good examples.
And smelly stickers?
Yes, they're all going to get smelly stickers. You're all going to get smelly stickers. Smelly
Am
stickers
I?
are good things. You will if you go downstairs right now and wait for me. Ready? Go. 3, 2, 1. This is what we're doing.
You have to count to 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
5.
Yep. This is just like this is the lunacy that we're talking about here. I'm not even going to cut this out. I'm not even going to start over because this is what's going on right now. This is hashtag homeschooling, hashtag modern motherhood, hashtag I'm going to go crazy here. Okay? All right. So back to this. You all should have received feedback from me. You all should have received your grades. I tried to be as specific and generous with my feedback as possible to set you up for your final essay, which is basically an expanded version of what you're doing in your midterms. Instead of 3 to 5 pages, you have 5 to 7 pages. So you will be expected to sort of take some of the connective critical thinking that you've started doing in your midterm essay and then expand upon it utilizing different texts for your final. But again, there is a new module created. I've posted 3 sample essays from this course anonymously. All of them received A's. I wanted to give you a really 3 tangible models to look to as guides if you have questions about your own writing. If you're just looking to get a sense of what an A range paper looks like. Those are there for you, and I would read through them. I would consult them, particularly. I mean, now seeing that you're just getting your feedback back on your own midterms, and then also before you compose your final essays, I would read through them again to get a sense of construction of these types of essays, quote utilization, specific thesis statements. I'm going to just talk through a couple of these points briefly, just as some sort of universal feedback. But then again, afterwards, you should just go through and read through one or two or all three of these models, just so that you, again, have a clear sense of what to work towards for that A range essay. Okay. One thing that you'll notice that is common among all three is that they all are really grounded in strong thesis statements. And by that, I mean that there is a real original claim being made, a real argument that is at stake, which could be argued a different way. It could be argued from a couple of different vantage points, in fact. So there is a real claim that is being staked right at the outset of this essay to help sort of serve as an anchor for the paper and guide the rest of the essay. Just one example of, a more analytical, sort of well-conceived thesis statement is something like, while Perrault and the Grimm brothers create pretty static, helpless female characters, Carter presents us with a character that is more nuanced and seemingly has more sexual power, but in fact, ultimately we can see in Carter's text that even this read from a modern perspective still is at the mercy of a patriarchal society. Something like that. That's obviously like a very long-winded way of saying that, but you can sense that there is a real there's a real attempt there to put these texts in direct relationship with one another. There's an attempt to put these texts into a specific context with one another. That isn't just, they're both doing this, right? They're both using dialogue to help move the plot forward, which is an observation. It's a connective observation. It's a way in which you're putting two texts, you're thinking through how two texts are doing something similarly, but not necessarily a full-fledged sort of focused, well-conceived argument. Whereas in the one that I was just talking through before, you can see where there's points of connection. Grimm and Perrault both have more static female characters that are more helpless and don't have a lot of power. Carter, on the other hand, advances Red's character forward by making her more empowered, particularly in a sexual aspect. But even then, Carter shows us with this sort of, sort of opaque, curious ending of Red sleeping between the paws of the wolf, that perhaps she isn't as liberated or as empowered as she initially seems. And perhaps in all three, the underlying theme is that patriarchal influences still are prevalent, right? So something like that, where you can see the ways in which, these texts resonate with one another. Either they connect, or diverge, or do some combination of both of them, which is also fair play. So all three of them will have a really clear introduction. All of the texts are introduced and contextualized to some extent, and there is that clear, specific, focused thesis statement that's being presented, which again guides and anchors the rest of the essay. Not all of them, but some of them also put both texts in direct conversation with one another throughout. So as opposed to having one paragraph on one text, another paragraph on another text, which is an okay approach. I mean, you can do that, but I would then encourage you to think through in your second body paragraph some sort of reflection back to the previous one. So while Perrault presents Red like this, the Grimm brothers present Red like this, and this is why that is important in some capacity. So there's some reflection back. There is some connective thinking, even if you don't have both texts within the same paragraph. If you're going to write about texts individually too, in their own paragraph, I would denote and designate at least another third paragraph to do more of that direct comparative connective thinking between the two. If you need to sort of set up and contextualize one essay, one story, and then set up and contextualize another, there should at least be another specific paragraph that works to process through the ways in which those texts are speaking to one another, or again, diverging from one another, and why those connections matter in the context of your argument. But some of the essays that I posted actually engage two of the myths in the same body paragraph, which I think is a way where you can maximize your connective thinking throughout, which is sort of the goal of these types of essays. It really is to take two seemingly disconnected texts from one another, from divergent parts of the world, cultural influences, different periods of time, and actually see how they can engage with one another in a critical dialogue. So you'll see that sort of organizational setup that is successful in these essays. Another thing that I wanted to note is outside resources. This class does not require you to use outside resources beyond the scope of the myths themselves, the context that we're reading in our anthologies, or context that I'm providing you in either the video lectures or the written lectures. All of that is fair play and should be considered and taken into account when you are writing these essays. But outside resources or references are not necessary and not required. One of the samples that I posted does actually reference an outside source, but it's very specific, and it's to contextualize a specific term that this author then utilizes to enhance her analysis throughout the rest of the essay. If it's something like that, it's one moment of an external resource and it's being used to help contextualize your analysis, that's fine. What I don't want you to do is get bogged down in all of these external resources. You're not writing a history report. Everything that you really need in order to do close readings of the text, to think independently about these texts, you have already in this course, in the scope of what we're reading. So it really isn't necessary to go outside of the scope and the bounds of what we're reading. And I would actually probably encourage you not to, unless, again, it's for a brief moment and for a really specific need or intention in your essay. Also, and this is just a point of, this is just a sort of like structural point, make sure that you are providing proper MLA in text citations. There are guides that you can utilize. Rutgers has an MLA resource guide online that actually like details precisely how to cite within a text, and you also need a separate works cited page at the end of your essay. So just make sure when you come to the final that you are doing both of those, and you should have a formal MLA style heading, which you can also find on Rutgers' website. It's under the library resources. I also circulated these around at the beginning of the semester too. If you need a reference for that, you can also just contact me and I will send it to you. I think that's all for now. There's only one other announcement I wanted to make. Normally in this class, we do 3 short writing assignments and the 2 formal essays, just because of having to adapt my other courses online and the way that and homeschooling right now. I'm going to drop I'm going to drop your last short writing assignment. So instead of doing 3 short writing assignments, we're going to do 2. Holla. So we will do 2 short writing assignments. It will not negatively impact your grade. We will do a final exam, final essay as planned. And we will proceed with our course, since this was already designed to be an online course anyway. Thank God. We will proceed generally uninterrupted for the rest of the semester. That doesn't mean that you won't feel interrupted by all of the happenings that are going on in the world right now. So again, if you are feeling destabilized or having a hard time are having a hard time keeping up, please just be in touch with me. It's better to be in touch so that we can talk and we can make sure that we keep you on track to finish out the rest of the semester successfully. Okay, that is all for now. We will continue on with the Epic of Gilgamesh. I love this tale. And then we're going to move on to samples from the Odyssey, which is also super fun and really exciting. We're in our hero narratives now, people. We're really hitting our stride. Okay, I will check back in soon. Be in touch if you have any questions. Bye.